All right. Well, welcome to We Don't Color on the Dog. This is, we're trying to do one big podcast rather than breaking it up into a lot of different pieces. We've got with us Scott Mitchell, Seville Quarter. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Cena.
Cena, the co host.
Oh, I don't know what time it is.
Whatever time they want it to be. That's the beauty of YouTube.
Yes. It could be your birthday.
It's
Happy
probably
birthday
the middle of the night. Somebody's actually watching this. They're insomniac.
Yeah.
Need some help getting some sleep.
You know, the goal is to try to do this on a more regular basis rather than how we've been. It's trying to get our schedules right. There's a lot going on in town. You know, if you've followed the blog at all, UWF and the Heritage Foundation and whoever Governor DeSantis has decided to appoint. We've been talking about that a lot. We had, Seville Quarter, pretty, we knew that Bob Snow was getting on in years, but to lose him was big for the community and for y'all.
It was a big shock for all of us, to be honest with you. Bob Snow is almost 10 years younger than my dad, Wilmer, and they were very close. But my dad is advancing in age, almost 92, and you do a little planning stuff for the future, and we kind of thought of some things, and we always felt Bob Snow would speak at our dad's service, and unfortunately he scratched that one off. But yeah, Bob Snow is the founder of Seville Quarter, kind of the mentor for all of us and lifelong friend, and a lot of great work for downtown Pensacola, which I think a lot of people have forgotten, because he basically moved to Orlando in 1976 and did it bigger and better in Orlando. Downtown Orlando wouldn't be what it is. There would be no Orlando Magic, none of that stuff.
Right.
Sunbank building, all those things without some of the stuff that Bob Snow helped start. So I don't want to get too deep in the history here on the block. But yeah, Bob Snow was a big influence on downtown.
It really was. And you look at his 60s. I'm glad that we had the opportunity to interview your dad about it a few years ago, to talk about how Bob Snow shows up at his law office. And just it went from there, that he borrowed what today seems like a pittance of money to get started, because he didn't have any operating capital, and to pay it off the next day after the opening.
Well, the part I watched your video and I read the text of it again, because of course I've heard all my dad's stories. The part that he left out about that story in the beginning with Bob Snow is my dad was in Holsbury Emanuel Mitchell and Condon back then. It's now Manuel Shepherd and Condon. But Bob Snow walks in his office and says, "People say you should be my lawyer." They'd never met. It was a few weeks before Rosie O'Grady's opened. And my uncle Dickie Merritt, who ran the Pabst-Blue Ribbon Falstaff distributor, eventually became Gator Distributors, said, "You need to meet Wilmer Mitchell." Jerry Browder, who did a lot of work, my dad's other roommate from college, they all pointed Bob Snow to my dad. Meets my dad. They hit it off. Comes back for more advice. My dad had seen his band at Trader John's, which, by the way, was that shows you how bad the nightlife was.
Right.
That's cool. Summer of '67, Trader John's was the hottest place downtown.
Right.
Not the strip club part, the other part. But that's
sure.
So Bob Snow and my dad strike it up. My dad's down there hoping. He's got all these people working, building picnic tables. All that part's right. The band's building. It's a derelict warehouse that they're trying to get up to code. And he comes into my dad's office and he says, "I got a problem." He's like, "What can I do?" And he tells that part of the story. He's like, "I need $3,000 for air conditioning. I'm going to open in August in Pensacola." But the part my dad left out is he said, "I'll give you half the business for $3,000 bucks."
Wow.
And my dad said, "My wife is about to have our fifth child, Buck Mitchell. And she would kill me if I came home and said I took whatever savings they might have had and invested in a bar and restaurant. But let me help you. I'm on the board of Citizens and People's Bank, C&P Bank." And that's where he walked him in. The story picks up. He walked him into Roger Doyle. And Roger Doyle helped him get the money in the capital, and he paid it back the next week. But my dad was always left out in that thing is he could have had half the business for $3,000. A business that, let's just say was several $1 million down the road.
Right. When y'all did get it.
Yeah. And then that's not counting $35 million that he got for Church Street Station. Bob Snow did. And we're like, every once in a while, we're like, "So you're saying we could have had half all this for for that?" And my dad laughs about that. But yeah, that part he left out of the story with you.
But and that was a great story. Cena, you sort of grew up in Seville. I mean,
That's so bad.
I know it does. It does.
I mean, it's one
Drinking
thing
age
for
was
Scott.
14 back then. I
Wow.
just graduated 8th grade, and it was my
Uh-huh.
first day as a busboy and tour guide. I was a tour guide and a busboy. My dad taught me how to tie a bow tie up in his office. And Douglas was already working on the maintenance crew. My brother Jack was a waiter over in Rosie O'Grady's when he was home from Florida State. My sister Wheezy worked in different areas in the waitressing and things like that. And so we literally grew up.
Right.
I mean, grew up working there. And then Buck followed the next year and Cliff followed the next year. We all started as busboys, trying to keep the place going in the daytime. And Mr. Snow, he went from Uncle Bob to Mr. Snow back,
Right.
He'd come in town and everybody'd be on their toes. Snow's coming in town. Freak out. It was great to see a lot of the older employees that were there for the memorial. We did a celebration of life after the service with the family and got a Dixieland band going. And a lot of I wouldn't call them old because they were in their 20s in the 1970s, but a lot of people came down and said, "Oh, I remember when I got my first job and I did this and did that." Bob Snow was so instrumental in the whole downtown revival that started with the Heritage Foundation and Mary Turner Rule, isn't that her name? Who's founded the Heritage Foundation. And Seville Square was a city dump at the time, and they started rehabbing those buildings and bringing them down. All that you see now on on Government Street, that whole area, Old Christ Church, that was the place you wouldn't walk into back in the mid 60s. And a lot of good Pensacola people got together with some real charitable interests and rehabbed those buildings and then sold them to lawyers and shops. My grandmother had a sea captain shop right there at the Steamboat House, down from Hub Stacy. You probably heard of Hub Stacy.
I've heard of it.
It was Tanner's
Right.
Grocery.
I've been there before.
Right.
I think I've been there before.
Yeah, I think you still have a tab open there, as a matter of fact. Call Billy Charbuck and see how much your tab is.
Yeah, well, it is. When we talk about Pensacola Day, and a lot of us look at Community Maritime Park being a big catalyst, and things start to happen then. But when I started, one, talking to your dad, one, having to listen to you tell me the same stories over and over again too. But when you walk away and you realize, because in the 70s, I was in college, and this is where we came for spring break. And Seville Quarter was nickel beer. You wanted to go to Seville Quarter as a group, and all the buddies would all rent a house on the beach and come over, and it was like Disneyland for somebody from Greenville, Mississippi.
It was
Yeah,
Disneyland.
it was
but
Disneyland.
tell the kids.
I mean, Monday night nickel beer simulcast on WBSR. I mean, I think that's an AM station, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that
Luke
was a
McCoy
big.
was
And then
started
later it was on Q100.
Right.
That's back when Joel Sampson, I think, was a
Right,
teenager.
yeah.
Back in then, when I was working for Wizard 104, which was Pensacola and Mobile in the late 80s, and that was the time period where we had George and Bruce either at Lily Marlene's or End of the Alley, and I would go on stage with them. I would leave work. I worked to midnight. I would leave work over in Mobile and drive over to do that. And close out.
Did you ever see John LeCarry playing in Lily's? Also, now Father John LeCarry. He
I'm
played in Lily's.
sure.
Yeah, he
Bruce
did.
and George would play in Apple Annie's. I mean, hell, Rick Holt was young back then.
Yeah.
And Mike Quinn and people like that.
Right.
It's fun. I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and take a break right now.
Okay.
We'll come back.
Are you sure I'll be here when I get back?
Well,
We're going to come back and talk about all the things you can't
Can't
talk
talk
about.
about.
I got a whole file of them right here.
All right, we'll be right back.
We want to thank our sponsor, 360 Marketing. 360 Marketing is Pensacola's full-service creative branding and marketing design boutique. They've been active in Pensacola for over 17 years. 360 Marketing knows that when businesses are succeeding, the entire community is thriving. To help businesses grow, the 360 team develops innovative solutions tailored to each client's specific needs. Every business is unique, and so are the steps they take to tell a brand story. No matter whether you need a logo, a whole brand concept, or a strategic campaign, they can help you out. And now's the time to order branded monogrammed throws. Put 360 Marketing in the Google machine to learn more. It's 360printing.com.
Okay, we're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We moved.
We've all had to take a shot on the way out so we can listen to Scott a little bit longer. Scott is one of the best. If something in your family, y'all are good storytellers. A lot of it goes with your dad.
And almost 50% of it's true, Rick.
Yeah, I know.
Some people don't have that.
That's
talent.
the best kind of tell. That's always the best kind of tell.
I always call Scott the Book of Genesis because if you ever start talking about somebody, he's going to tell you about their daddy when they were in Fiesta.
Gotta start with the beginning. Start with the beginning. If you wanted a short guest, you'd invited Kramer Litvak. You want a long frame. This is a long form.
That's it.
Format.
That's it. Now, Sina, you've been doing a podcast on history.
Yeah, sort of history, sort of what we know about history. It's not that we don't speculate, but we make it real clear about what we know about these things because there's stories that we don't know a lot with weird connections. I've only done 3 episodes of it, but it's been kind of interesting. The first one I did was the story about the Whitmire Ghoul because there had been a time when I worked for the sheriff's office. You had been doing a story in Weekly about it, so he asked for the case file. And asked the sheriff for the case file. When the sheriff gave it to me to hand it to him, he said, I made a copy for you too. So I had the whole case file on it. And when I started looking through the case file, it was really, really funny.
It was a grave robber.
It was a grave robber back in the 50s over at Whitmire Cemetery.
Over there by West Florida Hospital.
And it was so funny because the stuff in the case file is so interesting because everybody in town was trying to help the sheriff solve it. And there were some really crazy ideas like putting bombs in graves and things like that. The stories about it from the time period were really, really interesting. That's why that made a good story.
And they actually went to the FBI to help them.
Yeah.
They had
J. Edgar Hoover wrote
Hoover.
the letter himself saying that, you can't really help you.
Lipstick kiss at the end of it. No.
Necrophilia. I don't know enough. I'll stay out of that.
That's right.
And the other one that I did, it was a story that I had researched a long time ago and always really, really been interested because there is a connection between Mobile and the Jack the Ripper. It's tenuous, but it's a connection. There was a woman that was born in Mobile, ended up marrying into England and living in England, and she was accused of possibly murdering her husband with arsenic. And she may or may not have done it, but he may or may not have been Jack the Ripper.
Because when he died, it stopped.
Yeah. So that was an interesting story too, and there's a lot of Mobile connections in that too that are kind of fun too.
Right, and it's that's the great thing about this medium. You can do a lot. I use the podcast a lot for really quick interviews, and I can get up with different people on different things. And this is, this year started off pretty strong with a lot of stories out there. But Scott, you have stories that you can't tell. So tell us.
Yeah, what are the things you brought a list?
Now look, my agent met with your lawyers. And we had a list of things that we weren't allowed to talk about. You've seen it, and you signed here saying we're not talking about certain subjects.
That was Asmart into the Alice. Doesn't count.
Is he still licensed? I'm not sure. He's only licensed on Pensacola Beach.
That's right.
The sand shaker.
It's the sand shaker.
Exactly. Rick, whatever you want to talk about. They can't do anything to me. I don't live in the city. I live in the county.
Well, there was a time when living in the city was the only thing that saved me from the sheriff not going after me. So when I had a bounty on my head. So
you need to do your next history one on the haunting of Seville Quarter. They do ghost tour there every week.
Yeah.
Is it haunted, or is it just all the nieces and nephews?
I will tell you. No, it's full of those are goblins. I will tell you, I've obviously worked there 36 and a half years as a manager and go back to teenager as an employee. I have never had any, but I have had very smart people that I trust that have keys to rooms with safes that swear that they've had episodes in Rosie O'Grady's with specifically Wesley, who was a bartender of ours who had a heart attack and passed away in our cooler, totally cleared, exonerated. And
health inspection was tough.
And people swear Wesley this, and I never believed any of that, but I wouldn't wear Wesley and I were friends. I don't have nothing to fear with any of that. But seriously, real people that I kind of joked it off for many, many years. But I've had real people say, no, I was up here and felt something and doors closed. And I said, well, I don't know. I'm not a big believer,
right?
But I know fairly normal, credible people that swear up and down that it's true. And they do, I don't know enough about it, but go on our website. There's information. They do ghost tours downtown, and they'll end at Seville and have lunch or drinks or whatever. But some people believe it. Halloween, it's a big seller. That's how I tell you that.
We'll do that. We'll do that.
You know, this week in looking at the different stories that are out there, you've got it appears the school board wants to do another referendum on appointed versus elected, even though we've only had 2 appointed superintendents. That if it goes all the way through, it could go on the ballot. I think they're looking at 2028 for that. That's a story that's out there. We're still, the UWF Alumni Association looks like they may get organized and really come out strongly supporting Martha Saunders and the university against these 5 appointees that Governor DeSantis has put on the Board of Trustees. That's going to stay a big story. So far, it's been quiet, but the Scott Yenor, the Boise State professor, who may or may not be anti-Semitic, depending on obviously the Jewish caucus in the Florida legislature thinks so. He was denied to have a spot on the board of directors for IHMC, and his still has yet to be approved by the Ethics and Elections Committee, which is chaired by Don Gates. That'll be coming up soon. So that's going to still stay a really big topic out there. We've got coming up Foiling Week. We're going to start seeing these boats here that it's just going to be amazing. This is an international festival that's going to be here right after Pensacon, now this, and then right behind that, the Sunbelt Tournament. Then we've got 2 regattas coming, one in March, one in April. So we're going to be heavy into sailing in Pensacola Bay, which is exciting. I think that
Cena's always loved a town full of sailors.
Yeah, the whole Spanish Navy remembers her fondly.
Oh yeah, I got a long story about that.
But yeah, so sailing is going to be big here more and more. Of course, we've got a lot happening at the port. The Pensacola Yacht Club has been a big player in this.
You're sponsoring that professional pickleball tournament, I think. Aren't Independent In Weekly going to sponsor that tournament with the professional pickleballers?
I don't know anything about that, but we'll see. Pickleball will be big. Yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely be a media sponsor. So we'll try to do it. So it's going to be an exciting spring for us, and I think that all the other issues, county commission, OLF 8, what's going to happen with that property, the news journal's continually trying to lynch Lehman May and not succeeding, which gets them more and more frustrated. You look at Mayor D.C. Reeves is taking on parking downtown, which is
that's what you call it.
That's what you call it. It's a spectator
taking
sport.
On. Okay, that's a new way. That's a different way I've heard it described.
And now and of course you've been a big supporter of the scooters downtown.
I love the scooters.
Yeah, we should let you know.
Usually when I trip over one, I just want to thank.
If you feel like investing, Lime is the bike service, which they have over in Mobile in some of the cities. They're going public today, so it's an investment you may want to get in on. I thought of you when I saw
appreciate
that.
all that. Public bikes.
Public bikes, that's what we need.
Mm-hmm.
And hand wipes. That's all we need.
Speaking of that, are you going to be like Sheryl Crow and like sell your Tesla now?
You won that Tesla in the
you won it
contest.
fair
I
and
wish.
square.
I know there's only one person who's going to watch this blog, which is podcast, which is my mother, because she's your one loyal viewer in the ratings. When you get a 1, that's my mom. She's 85, and for you to pick on an old woman like that, Rick, really shows the lack of character you have. She does ask me every once in a while, where is the Tesla? I just tell her it's getting recharged.
She said you sold it, gave all the profits to NPR.
I
So
did.
that's, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I like the one stunt we did was on Groundhog's Day. We kept calling your phone to see if you would answer.
Yeah, if Scott Mitchell answers the phone, he can, it'll be an early spring.
That's why they invented caller ID.
That's it. Well, it was also Friday morning, which we knew
That's
you were
right.
going to be
Oh, it's
not going to be up at all.
working.
All right, let's go ahead and take a break. Well, Well, welcome back to We Don't Color on the Dog. I'm Rick Outson, Cena Madison, the great Scott Mitchell.
I don't know about that, but thanks anyway.
At least it's Scott Mitchell. So
The man, the myth, the legend is what my nephew
right.
calls me.
You have to
He's
just-
the only one.
And we like that game of, is this a nephew or not? That's the one
He's
that we
only
like.
17.
Is this the Mitchell kid?
Is this a Mitchell kid? The Mitchell kid. That's it. That was we put a bunch of pictures up and let our readers and guests figure out, is this a real Mitchell or not? Danny Zimmerman's not a Mitchell.
Not a Mitchell.
Not a Mitchell. Okay,
Guaranteed.
so we got that. Ivan is not a Mitchell.
Not
A Mitchell.
another one. Guaranteed.
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 Yeah, it's been fun doing the podcast, and we're starting to, YouTube's done well. The Spotify, we've got audio and video on all the different podcasts that we do.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I wanted to mention too is when we talk about our podcast, you can either listen to them on Spotify, or you can go to YouTube and watch the video as well. So,
And please like and share them, because that helps us get monetized, which will pay for some of the stuff that we need to pay for and cover our tab at Seville Quarter.
And you're much better looking on the audio.
I think
Yeah.
so. I'm known for that. I'm known for it.
he's got a face for radio.
I do. The other thing we're trying to do is we've come up with some really, what we think are very clever
Merch.
T-shirts,
We got
merch.
merch now. We now have an official. We do Don't Color on the Dog store. You can find it on our YouTube channel. Just go there to check it out on the links at the top of the page on the YouTube channel. But
We also got it on In Weekly, and we've got it on Rick's blog.
and you can get a really cool sweatshirt with the dog on it. But that's the classic shirt. But we've also got some Gulf of Mexico shirts and some really exciting
Gulf of
colors.
Mexico, never forget.
Yeah.
Limited time because the name
Right,
changed.
right.
Yeah, so
Soon to be collector's items.
Yeah, so never forget Gulf of Mexico, and we've got a great Dante DeLuna. Yeah, Pensacola has potential.
So we'll come up with some more. That was just one night of drinking, so we'll figure it out. But so please, we enjoy doing this, and you can email us. You can put messages, comments on the podcast after that, or just email me at rick@inweekly.net. We'd love to hear from you. Scott, when we talk about Bob Snow, and we just during the break, we're kind of just what a big promoter he was. I mean, it's just amazing. We don't have those kind of P.T. Barnum type promotions anymore. Everybody just wants to do something on TikTok or have some, but he was larger in life in so many of the things he did.
Well, I was telling you during the break that when I was a child, I mean, you remember my dad was his attorney since 2 weeks before he opened up. So we were always knowing what was going on. One time Bob Snow arranged to have his whole crew, the Dixieland Band, the fire truck, the Can Girls, and a horse. He had a horse. He got a cowboy outfit on, and he went from Seville Quarter around the corner to Palafox Street, which is now across from Intermission. It's the county tag office.
Yeah,
Everybody
tax
hates
collector.
going there.
Right.
It used to be the CMP, Citizens and People's National
Right.
Bank, which was his bank. And he walked in to pay off his loan, and he had saddlebags full of money. So he walked around in this little walking parade, band playing, people, TV crew, newspaper
Right.
people, all set up. Walked out and slammed the saddlebags on the desk of his bank officer and paid his whole loan off. I think it was like $10,000 or something. Got all the press, all the people, because it was interesting. You remember, there were only 3 networks back then.
Right.
There was no news on your phone.
Right.
And then the other funny part is, as soon as they all left, he walked back and said, I need to open another loan. I need to get another loan. That's what Bob Snow did. It was pay one, do the next one. That's how he leveraged $3,000 into $35 million in less than 20 something years. And took all that to Las Vegas, which is whole other blog story, but not blog, pod story.
Right.
Sorry, I can get them
It's
all
all
wrong.
right. It's all right. But no,
I'll look on my MySpace page and see if I can get that right.
But you look at those promoters, and him, McGuire Martin, when McGuire started to take off with the type of things he did. And then, Bob Snow was a pilot, and he would do his own banners.
He would skywrite Rosie's, and we were little kids in Cordova Park walking out. What's he going to spell? I don't know. And on a good day, they would not blow apart because he
Right.
could only do it if it wasn't windy up at certain levels. He'd be about 6,000 feet up, skywriting. I mean, that was in the early 70s. I'm sure there's a lot of people in Pensacola who grew up here who remember the skywriting. Rosie's
Mhm.
or, and all kinds of stuff. Rosie O'Grady's, if it was a really blue
Right,
day, you could
right.
actually write the whole thing. And
Wow.
he still did that. He ran a skywriting company with Colonel Joe Kittinger, the fastest
Right.
human alive, in Orlando. To this day, they still
Right.
have a skywriting and banner towing company in Orlando. So he was great at that.
It makes me remember too is when we're talking about all these memories. It's one of the sad things about radio being dead is not having promotions like we used to have promotions back in the 70s and 80s.
Well, you were with the Wizard, and the
we
Wizard
did.
was
Well,
hot.
it made me think too. We had a sort of eccentric station manager, and he had a biplane, and he dressed up like Indiana Jones. He had the scarf and the flight jacket. And one of the other radio stations, popular station in Mobile, they were broadcasting from their billboard. So he starts dive bombing the billboard,
Yeah.
and we all went out to cheer him on. But that kind of stuff was so much fun, and not having any local radio to do that kind of stuff is with businesses, and think of creative ways to highlight
like
a
dropping the
business.
turkeys out on Flying Turkeys.
Yeah.
WKRP.
Well, that's
still the best known episode of that show.
Exactly.
Well, they went around when they did that. They went around. Whenever you were a DJ back in the 80s, the thing when DJs got together, the things they always wanted to talk about is one, the time you cracked up on the air and just couldn't help it because something was so funny. And the other thing, the worst promotion you ever did. And I've got some doozies too. I've got a long story about the world's greatest pie fight that we did that was just a disaster. But it was almost as bad as the turkeys. But the things that this got business a lot of attention. That's how you did sales back in the day. You'd get the Herb Tarlick guy to come out and sell the promotion.
Yeah.
And the
Jim
DJs,
Sanborn,
yeah.
Joel Sampson,
Yeah.
Mark the Shark.
Yeah,
right.
We did all
yeah.
kinds of
Mhm.
crazy
Mhm.
promotions. Miss Seville Quarter,
Right.
Yeah.
Bikini Girls. Evidently, you can graduate onto politics.
That-
But that's a whole nother issue.
A whole other issue for a whole other.
A whole
in the
other
file.
show
It's
and
in the
a whole
file.
other guest.
That's a whole other guess for a whole other time. But
No
Yeah.
talking.
Get in the file.
But yeah,
Yeah.
some of that individualism has
Mhm.
really been lost
Yeah.
in the world.
It's
And you have to find people with nothing better to do, like you two, doing this on YouTube and podcasts to really find where real creativity and fun still exists.
I remember back when we did a karaoke contest at Seville, at Phineas, and the winner was going to get to sing at the fair.
Oh yeah.
And we did that every week. And I was sort of the Simon Cowell of the group. And they wanted to kill me at the end of every time because I was just really, really mean. But it was, the different types of promotions. Y'all kept up a lot of those for a while. And
We still do the Miss Snowball Derby pageant. It's with gowns and everything. I mean, it's still
with
my
counts.
brother Buck loves doing those kind of things. He loves Snowball Derby. We still do all kinds of downtown is still flourishing in spite
It
of,
really is.
of all the governmental obstacles.
Well,
We're still trying.
It's amazing. I mean, when you look at the traffic downtown and how people move around, and it's so much more vibrant on a weekend than it's been in a long time. And the thing, y'all always plug into the right event. I mean, y'all were big during America's Cup. Y'all had all the races were shown. We
It
did
was
a broadcast.
fun to watch from there.
It
Watch
really
the race
was.
with everybody,
Wimbledon
Wimbledon
was fun.
We were all there for Wimbledon. That was fun
Yeah,
too. We got
it's
our
just-
Pips
If we could
Cup.
just get something in our own time zone where we could get a
Yeah.
lot.
Exactly. Right.
7 a.m. stuff's not really high sales.
No,
No, I
but we were
wouldn't-
there.
It's really more of a vanity thing for us. But we're a little bit older in the family now than we used to be.
Right.
You know, the Nickel Beer simulcast was a lot of fun back in
It
the
was
long time ago.
Yeah.
But we're way too old for that stuff.
It
now.
is. Well, it's y'all have been a big part. Your family's been a big part of the community in a lot of different ways, not just with Seville Quarter in the district, but just and I think all of us, and can at one time or another y'all have partnered on an event that we've been a part of at one time or another, and it's really been
We always see Rising Stars.
Yeah, we
there,
do
and
Rising
did a lot of
Stars
different
there.
events.
and that's
Well, we got Mardi Gras coming, so everybody's will be coming out downtown in the, whatever type of costume they can get away with, and then the regular people come and looking for the fun. It's going to be a
That's
great,
always fun.
great weekend coming. I guess the next 2 weeks of Mardi Gras.
all right. Well, I think we're ready to sign off. Cena, you want to give them one more plug for how to share and all that?
Oh yeah, just At the end of this video, you're going to see a little arrow pointing to the dog. Click on the dog and you can subscribe. And when you subscribe, it doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to pay for a subscription. It just means that we can help bring you more content. So we really appreciate it. Thank you for subscribing and like this video if you do.
All right, Scott.
Thank you for
doing
having
it.
me.
All right, we'll do this again. Take care.
Thanks for watching, and to keep up with what's going on, be sure and subscribe. Just click on the little dog to the right and click the subscribe button. You can also like this video and click on the bell, which will notify you of new content. This really helps the channel grow. We appreciate you.